Did you see this video out of Kansas City, Missouri, where white nationalists, Patriot Front, are marching down the street and they are confronted by local residents? Listen to this.
You're not going to invade our women's privacy.
Privacy? You're in public, bro. Why do you need to be private? I thought you'd be proud of your opinion. Like that crap. Hey, have a good one, guys. Thanks for getting the fuck out of here. Please don't return. Sir, you want a name? Yeah, what's your name, bud? Thomas Ryan Rousseau. Thanks, Thomas. I bet you're trying to get famous with Trump for this. What? You gonna run for office now? What? You gonna run for office now? Are you from here? Get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? I got people from the whole country here. That's how many it takes to get a couple hundred? The whole country. I don't see anything. That's embarrassing. Hey, have fun in that hot box, guys.
First of all, thank you to the people of Kansas City who stood up to this. Because the police didn't do anything, they saw this and made no stops and no arrests. Now, this was all led by the guy you saw in the video, Thomas Rousseau. He gave a speech in front of the World War I Museum where he talked about how the United States is a white nation made for white people and they need to reclaim America. And these people are serious, especially under this administration. Those people have a training center in Tennessee. They train people on how to use weapons and hand-to-hand combat. That's how he was able to get 100 people from across the country. These are all people who wholeheartedly believe in the white supremacist ideology, and they're getting ready to take it further, especially under this administration.
Well, this is hilarious. This is hilarious, and it's unbelievable. A group of white supremacists earlier on today marched in Kansas, shouting stupid words of discrimination and racial segregation. But let me ask you, if it was blacks doing this march, what do you think would have happened? Thomas Rousseau was the leader of this Patriot Front march in front of the World War Museum, and he gave quite a speech which I'm going to play for you in the next video. I want you all to tell me what you think down in the comments, because he said quite a number of factors, and among them, these are some of them that caught my attention. Some of his concerns were the white supremacists are demoralized and defranchised. Yeah, he believes that, so he said it. And he further said, in his words, I'm quoting, that the American government seeks to rule over nation of slaves. Yeah, he said that too. Tell me what you think down in the comments.
While forgetting that country for which they fought and died. They fought for a nation that was proud of its heritage, that was unashamed to say that America was built by and for the descendants of the European race, that was unafraid to say that we have a culture deeply steeped in the Anglo-Saxon traditions of our forebears. Did our ancestors storm the forests of the Argonne, the beaches of Normandy, or the cliffs of Okinawa, so that their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren could be despised minorities in their own home, driven from the cities they built, denied the very same rights they were supposedly dying to protect? The greatest tragedy is not the endless ranks of dead, the orphans and the widows, but for all their sacrifice, they were betrayed. Their lives were spent so that the United States could claim dominion over the world, and in so doing, forget its duty and purpose to its founding stock. We have come from all corners of this once great land, and believe me when I tell you that this does not appear as a country which has won the great battles of our age. We are a disenfranchised, demoralized, and downtrodden people. Yet while Americans lose touch with their identity as they grow isolated and ignorant to the war being waged against them, the communities under our banner grow strong. We are building a nation within a nation that shall become the nation. And it all starts with the elemental virtues of courage American soul and replaces them with those meant to shame us. What landmarks to our heritage that do yet exist have had their histories smoothed over so that they may be inoffensive commercial spaces to foreigners and tourists. What has been created is a world without discovery, without great narrative that they do fight for the life of our nation! Life! For the liberty of our people! Liberty! For the victory of the American spirit! Victory! Life! Liberty! Victory! Life! Liberty! Victory! Life! Liberty! Victory! Life! Liberty! Victory! Liberty!
So apparently, a group of coward, I won't even call them men because a real man would not be doing such a thing, right? So we have a group of white nationalists who call themselves the Patriot Front. These white supremacists are feeling way too comfortable walking down the streets with their Confederate flags, with the hate speech, thinking that it is okay. And of course, police are not going to do anything. They're not being questioned. And since the police don't see anything wrong with it, and they're not doing anything because there's nothing wrong with it, we have to be ready. You know what I'm saying? We have to do what the people in Lincoln Heights did, right? Because wasn't it in February that the white supremacists marched over the bridge and, with the Confederate flags, talking a lot of nonsense in Ohio? And this group called Lincoln Heights Safety and Watch Program was created. At the end of the day, that's what we're going to do, okay? We need together it doesn't have to be all black, anybody that stands for what's right. Just like the men in the video that questioned one of some of the guys. I'll share the video so you guys can see. We need together and create a group where we show them this is not going to be allowed. I don't care who they think is in the office giving them the ammunition. This shit ain't going to fly. So we need all our strong men and women together and start taking action, especially when we know that this kind of march is going to be happening. If police are not going to do anything, now it's time for us to be ready and prepared. As far as I'm concerned.
We have some serious news right now. Authorities have confirmed that the far-right nationalist Patriot Front group marched through downtown Kansas City, Missouri, and yet no arrests have been made. The Patriot Front is a hate group designated by the Southern Poverty Law Center. The individuals flew flags, waved and patches on their clothes, wore hats, white masks, navy blue shirts, and tan pants. They carried upside-down American flags, Confederate flags, and flags bearing the Patriot Front logo. About 100 people, according to Kansas City authorities, were as part of this group. After the march, according to KMBC9, the individuals loaded up U-Haul trucks and left the area. They were meant to scare those around them on the eve of the 5-year anniversary of George Floyd's murder, who should be alive today. Spread the word so more people know. And as always, follow along to stay up to date on all the news that you need to know about. I'm sure there'll be much more to come very soon.
Unless U-Haul wants their new slogan to be "We Haul Racists," they better stop letting these schmatzy use their shit. Because, frankly, we'll do to U-Haul what we're doing to Tesla and Target if they want to be the face and brand of white supremacy in America. Get the together.
Now? What? You gonna run for office now? Are you from here?
I might be tripping, but I think I know that man. Hold on one second. I think maybe like a year or so ago, we got this weird ass letter in the mail, something about white supremacists in the neighborhood. And I think that man is my neighbor. Hold on. I know I'm not crazy. Hold on one second. Hold on, I gotta see something real quick. I know I'm not tripping. Hold on. I know I'm not tripping. Hold on. I have ADHD, but I am not crazy. I know exactly who that is. This is where we are. This is crazy. This is where we are. I know exactly who that is. We got this in the mail. How long ago? Our first year in this neighborhood.
21, 22.
We got this in the mail. I'm trying to like block it out but we got this in the mail. And that is that man. And I have seen this man in my neighborhood and I've spoken to him.
He likes black people.
He sure do. When we got that letter in the mail, we obviously had to have a conversation with our kids. Number one, because they immediately felt afraid. We all felt a little something when we first got that letter, but it didn't last very long because we own our home. But we did have a conversation with our kids and just let them know, just to be aware of your surroundings. If anyone comes up to you and tries to speak to you about anything, don't even respond, just to call us and we'll handle it. But yeah, we know exactly who that is. And ain't nobody scared. Stupid.
Just so I can get this right, people who are protesting the treatment of Palestinians in Gaza are being arrested and deported, but there can be white nationalists waving Confederate flags, chanting hateful rhetoric in the streets of a downtown metropolis like Kansas City. Got it.
Thanks for getting the out of here. Please don't return.
Just a reminder that it only takes a quick second to Google what the police department's phone number is. So I actually called the Kansas City Police Department and I asked them, I said, is it a law in Kansas City that you must have a safety belt for every single passenger inside of a vehicle? The woman said yes. I said, is it against the law to have people standing inside of the back of a U-Haul and having it drive away? She said yes. I said, if a police officer was on site and witnessed people piling into the back of a U-Haul, should they all get tickets? And she said, yes. And I said, then why is it that there is a Nazi protest happening in Kansas City with Kansas City Police Department on site witnessing it, watching people file into a U-Haul and drive away, and no ticketing was happening? She said, I'm not sure that should have happened. They're in on it, guys. Condolences.
If you are still not convinced cops in America are racist, there's no saving you. You're the lowest of the low. You have no idea what's going on. And what makes me say that is not all the actual evidence we have, even though like that is a big thing. It's the Kansas City march or rally that those fucking Nazis did. Yeah, they're all cops. You can see it in the way they the way they walk. The condescension just fucking coming out of their pores. Filling up the air. You can smell the custody battle.
Here's something that's really quite simple. Imagine a bunch of black or brown people covering their face and their eyes with sunglasses, walking around with the same kind of uniforms with a bunch of flags, saying a bunch of hateful words. How quickly do you think the cops would be called? And why was that not the same response given in Kansas City or any other time that these idiots walk the streets in their khakis and their blue shirts? Could there be a problem in this country? There it is. Yeah, now we agree, right? Weird.
If we can depend on the right to do anything, it is to be deplorable. And on this Memorial Day, they did not disappoint. Starting with Dumpy Pants himself and that ridiculous post he made this morning, talking about literally everything but the sacrifices of our troops, right down to the KKK and neo-Nazi march and rally in Kansas City yesterday. Patriot Front held a rally yesterday. They then held a march afterwards. If you've never heard of Patriot Front, they are a white supremacist hate group, self-proclaimed ashes, and are all in on the MAGA front with 47. If you've never heard of Patriot Front, it's because they used to be Vanguard America. And Thomas Ryan Russo formed Patriot Front from Vanguard America after what happened in Charlottesville when one of the Vanguard America people ran his truck into a crowd of people, unaliving one and injuring numerous others. This was in 2017 during the Unite the Right Charlottesville, Virginia marches, where Vanguard America was protesting the removal of General Robert E. Lee's statue. Side note, you guys would not believe how many people I have in my comments telling me the Democrats were the ones who had the slave. And then these same people protest the removal of a Democrats' Confederate statue. So you support Democrats now? I don't don't understand what that argument is. Like, what is the gotcha there? Anyway, I digress. Vanguard America, or rebranded Patriot Front, was actually ordered by a judge to pay each one of the victims of the Charlottesville incident $350,000 each for punitive damages and emotional distress. June of 2022, 31 Patriot Front members were arrested when somebody saw them loading up into a U-Haul truck, kind of like they did in Kansas City this weekend, and they thought that was suspicious. They called the police pulled them over, and the police found smoke grenades, shields, kind of like they had this weekend, and other items, as well as documents spelling out how to create an incident at the park. And they are really good at creating incidents because they were the ones creating incidents at the George Floyd protests. The Kansas City Police Department spokesperson said that the police department didn't even know that they were coming, and they didn't have to get any permits because no streets had to be closed. All of the marching was done on sidewalks and in public places where they could use their First Amendment right to assemble. What I found interesting also was that the Kansas City Police Department spokesperson said that there was no indication that the Kansas City Police Department escorted them in any way. But there are pictures and video evidence of police on bikes escorting them through their march. So I don't know why she felt like she had to say that when we all saw that it's a lie. They were escorted and no one was arrested. This is a hate group with shields and flagpoles that have spears at the tip of them. And the police didn't fear for their lives. They didn't instigate an issue like they did in the peaceful George Floyd protests. They decided to assemble outside of the National World War I Museum and Memorial. A spokesperson for that museum said that although they respect the First Amendment right to assemble and exercise their free speech, they stand firmly against hatred, bigotry, and divisive rhetoric in all forms. As Patriot Front marched, they would chant things like life, liberty, and victory, and reclaim America. I personally think those are very weak-ass chants that have very little thought into them. First of all, life, thanks. Liberty, for who? They don't even realize that their own liberties are being taken away right now. And victory, against who? Who are you fighting? Reclaiming America, from who? The people who built it? Anyway, now the people that marched and rallied in Kansas City were not from Kansas City. Thomas Ryan Russo is from Texas. And there are a lot of people from a lot of different places, all with face masks and large glasses to obscure their identities. But they're not from Kansas City. So why are they in Kansas City? Apparently, Kansas City is a central theater for neo-Nazis. That is a central location that is important to their cause. Kansas City also has a black mayor. And November 11th of 2022, they went to Kansas City and they handed out food and blankets to the homeless. And in these brown bags that they were handing out to these people, there were recruitment flyers for their cause. That's concerning because they're trying to recruit the people who feel as if they have been forgotten. I think this is a lesson for the Democrats in the area, the mayor of Kansas City, and of other cities around that have a high homeless rate. Y'all need to start putting more money into helping the homeless, because if you don't, you might be helping with recruitment for these hate groups. Forgotten people are easy to radicalize. People who feel as if the government is against them are easy to radicalize. And if those people have nothing to lose already, that can be dangerous for you. I really wish these cities would pay more attention to their homeless, especially because a lot of the homeless are veterans and people who have sacrificed for this country. And we tell them thank you for your service and leave them on the streets.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.